What's been the biggest challenge so far?
Biggest challenge, without a shadow of a doubt, is half-time. And having to communicate through a translator. That's the most frustrating thing, without a shadow of a doubt. The team talk, because it's well prepared and planned, is fine. You know, you plan your team talk, you know that it's coming, you can even use some Spanish words that I've picked up and it can help it move along a little bit. But half-time, obviously, it's just frustrating. You want to obviously be able to speak and people to react off you, but that just can't happen. You're obviously having to go through a translator. So it's my problem. I mean, it's my problem. I knew what I was getting into, but that is the biggest frustration so far and challenge, I would say.
Is it a double-edged sword having a number of players that can speak English?
It's good in some ways. It's good in the small meetings. So if you bring the defenders in, the fact that Lucas Orban and Mustafi speak English is good, because then you can sort of have a conversation between them all and you don't need the translator in there. But I think then sometimes I've just got to be careful that I don't rely upon them too much and speak to them more than the others. You know, Andre Gomez speaks English, Abdenor speaks English, Mustafi, Orban. There's probably a couple more I can't think of off the top of my head, but I think that I've been trying to make sure I speak to every player equally as much and not trying to speak to one player more than the other just because they speak English. I think that's probably would be a mistake on my part.
Is it uncertain, the amount of time that you will be here, the length of time?
I think it is uncertain the amount of time I'll be here, but do you know something? If I got given a 5-year contract, I think it would be uncertain the amount of time I'd be here. That's why I'm quite relaxed about it. I think that they've had 15 managers in 14 years. It's a club that's had turmoil after turmoil with managers. And from my point of view, I don't think a 3-year contract in football nowadays gives you the ultimate security. I don't think a 6-month contract means that you sort of can be out of a job in 6 months. I think the fact that I do know the owners and that I can have an honest conversation with them, and I will be honest with them and they'll be honest with me, is a good thing. And that's one of, again, the reasons that I came out here and it was attractive. The fact that it's a big club, the challenge of what it is, but also the fact that I know the owners. I always said that I would be choosy over what I did post-football, and I've done that so far. And that's why I think that even though it's a risk, people would say it's a gamble doing this, I think it would be a bigger risk not doing it, and a bigger gamble not doing it, looking back and thinking, what did I miss the opportunity to go and coach in this league, you know, a big club. I think it's something that, from my point of view, I wanted to do.
How about the actual process of making, I mean, as a manager, you make decisions all day, every day, everything from to the training ground, the chef, what the players wear. How are you finding doing that you're making so many decisions constantly? And also, I'd like to know how you found it during the games when you have to make tactical decisions.
I think the decisions, like in terms of things like that, because of the fact that obviously I have businesses and you know, lots of people who work with me and for me, and I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years in another, not in the public eye, but I've been doing that every single day, so I don't have a problem with that. But you know, again, it's things like, you know, what size of, you know, how short do you want the grass cutting for training? Where do you want the lines putting on the pitch? All those sorts of things, to the obviously bigger decisions where people are asking you about, you know, injuries or signings or all those types of things. So obviously there's big decisions, but then obviously lots of small decisions. But it's not a problem. That's just the same, I think, as being in any other company or whatever it is. I think on match day, what's the biggest? The decision is the timing of your substitutes. Being on that touchline, thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Obviously, when I'm with England, you know, you sat there thinking like that as a coach, but you're an assistant coach, and ultimately, like, Roy always makes the final decision, and he'll be the one who makes the call, and you sat there, obviously, you know, maybe talking between yourselves, but now it comes down to you. So I think that during the games, you know, I will speak to Angulo. You know, I plan before the game what we're going to do in certain scenarios, so I know exactly which substitutes to make if certain things are going well. That helps. I think that one of the big changes for me is that I've been used to watching football from up here, whether it be in a commentator's box, whether it be watching it, obviously, in the Monday Night Football studio, and seeing the game from a real good viewpoint. Now, when you're watching it from eye level, it's completely different. Obviously, I'm used to that with England because I watched the first half with England up in the stand, and then the second half I watch it from this level. But you see a lot less. There is no doubt you see a lot less. And that's something that obviously, you know something's going wrong, you know you can spot what's going wrong, but you can't spot how it's potentially gone wrong all the time when it's happening so quick in a game.
How much thought have you given to Cristiano Ronaldo?
Uh,
A good friend of yours, a former teammate, somebody you play behind for how many years?
6 or 7.
Directly behind, so you know how good he is.
Yeah, I know how good he is. And there's two ways of looking at it. You can sort of, honestly, I've not spent a massive amount of time thinking about him. And that's not paying disrespect to him. I think it's quite obvious when you're playing against someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, you can plan all you like for it. But if he's on his day, he can do something that's special and, you know, free kick from 40 yards or something ridiculous on the ball, and you can sort of worry yourself silly before a game. I'm not that type of person, to be fair, anymore. Might have been when I was playing a little bit, but not now. I'm more thinking really just about the sort of positions that the defenders need to be in to give themselves the best chance to stop him and the midfielders. That's the only thing that I've been thinking about, and we went through that this morning in training. But that means you've got to do that for 90 minutes every single second of the game, and then you still might not stop him. That's the way in which football goes with someone like him. You know, is it 57 goals in 57 games last year? So not a lot of people probably planned for him a lot, but not a lot have stopped him. So tomorrow night, it's the great challenge. You stood on the side of a pitch. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got Benzema, you've got Bale, Rodriguez, Isco, all these players, Modric, Kroos, and I'm sat there thinking not just about Cristiano Ronaldo, but all of them, about how we try and sort of hurt them and how we try and stop them. And from my point of view, one of the bigger areas, probably, to be fair, is trying to stop the flow through Modric and Kroos to get the ball into Cristiano, into Bale, into Benzema. You know, that's one of the big things, trying to stop it at source as much as we possibly can. But then every team that plays Real Madrid's trying to do that, and they score 100 odd goals every season.
You've not been here long, and yet you've ruled yourself out of the England job and the Manchester United job. What made you make that statement?
I didn't make a statement. I was asked a question in an interview, and obviously, having been in the media for 4 or 5 years, I've seen people sort of dance around those questions, playing it coy and sort of make it look like they're keeping their options open. But I just wanted to nip it in the bud and just tell it as it is and as it is going to be. It's just not going to happen. You know, I just didn't want to sort of blag my way through the answer and come across as being someone who's sort of looking like, you know, the clever. You know, it's not going to happen.
And if there's a chance, I'm
around. And if there's a chance, you know, I would never turn anything down, all that sort of stuff. No, I've been in the media for 4 or 5 years and sort of heard certain people do that and cringed a little bit. I just didn't want to do it.
You've alluded to a master plan. What is it? Where do you want to end up? Where do you want... This is obviously part of an experience, or an experience as part of a bigger picture. Where do you want to end up?
I'm not going to say where I want to end up, and it isn't in head coaching or management. So I want to be clear about that.
It's not.
No, that's not my ultimate goal of where I want to be. I think that from my point of view, I was really enjoying what I was doing. I really was. You know, the multiple things I had on, even though I knew that it was coming to a point where I had to make decisions at the end of this season. You know, I couldn't continue to keep doing Sky, England, the Telegraph, all the business stuff, the football club with Salford, everything like that. I couldn't continue to keep doing all those things. That something had to give. I think that this came at the right time, because it's allowed me just to sort of think, well, okay, 4 or 5 years out of football, you know, I've experienced a lot in the different sort of facets of football, of media, broadcasting, obviously now head coach, assistant manager with England, international team, obviously being a part owner of a football club and seeing it from that side, obviously the other business stuff that I do and all that sort of thing. I've always wanted to sort of try and experience as many things as possible. I think it was getting to that point where I needed to sort of come away from everything and just concentrate on certain things. And I feel as though the first 5 years out of football have been really good for me. This is definitely the moment where I've stepped into a new level of, stepped out of my comfort zone.